name is Rafael, you watch Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to show you the 4 bands that the Rush bassist, vocalist, and keyboardist Geddy Lee said he would like to have been a member of. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment, okay? Well, back in 2020, Geddy gave a really interesting interview to You Discover Music. And he mentioned many of his influences and many groups and bassists that he loved. And he mentioned 4 bassists from 4 different bands that he would have liked to replace if he had the chance. And these are the bands that I'm going to show you today, okay? The first one is Cream. Well, it's quite interesting because he's a big fan of Jack Bruce, the late legendary Cream bassist and singer. And he had the chance to see Cream in the late 60s when they were playing in Canada. Geddy had the chance to see many incredible bands, but this show was really, really important for Geddy's career as a musician, because it was the show that really was a turning point in his life. None of his friends wanted to go with him to this show, and he decided to go alone. It was the first time he went all by himself to a concert, and it simply changed his life. And there's a really interesting interview that he gave to Sirius XM back in 2023 that we transcribed, and this is what he said. Cream sort of changed my life. They blew my mind, and I remember they were coming to Toronto. I couldn't get any of my friends interested to go see them. They were playing at the Massey Hall, and I went down and bought a ticket, and I went by myself. I just had to see them. They were such an important band to me. Jack Bruce's bass playing was just out of this world. Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, they were the ultimate trio. The most influential band in my entire career in many ways. The day I bought the ticket, I was walking through a department store because it was chilly out. All the televisions in the TV department had shots of Robert Kennedy. It was the day that Robert Kennedy was shot. So it's another thing that I sadly never forget. But Cream were a really incredible band to me. It was incredible to see them live back in the day. And more recently, in 2019, in an interview with BBC, Geddy had chose Jack Bruce as his rock god, as someone who is the most important musician for him for his career, for his musical influences, and etc. And obviously we can't not compare Rush with Cream, because both bands were a power trio, and obviously there's a lot of Cream influence in Rush, and Rush even kind of paid tribute to Cream on their 2004 covers albums called Feedback. They covered the track Crossroads, which is a Robert Johnson song, but the version they made is quite similar to the one that Cream did in the 60s and became famous, and I would say, in my opinion, is better than the Robert Johnson version. The second band that he mentioned was Led Zeppelin, and it's interesting because after Rush released their first album, they were really they were even called the Canadian Led Zeppelin because of the band sound, and obviously Geddy Lee's incredible vocals, which for people back then had a similarity with Robert Plant. And it was another incredible band that Geddy Lee had the chance to see live in Canada back in the 60s, when Led Zeppelin was just starting. And it's just incredible, and he said that he would like to replace John Paul Jones, someone who he had the chance to meet a few years ago properly when he did a book called The Big Beautiful Book of Bass, and he had the chance to interview John Paul Jones for that book. And the similarity between the two of them is that John Paul Jones, besides being a bassist, is also a keyboardist like Geddy Lee is, but Geddy is a singer and John it isn't. And in an interview a few years ago with Classic Rock in 2021, Geddy recalled the experience of seeing Led Zeppelin live, and this is what he said. That was August 18, 1969. They were doing two shows. We were at the first show. I went with John Rutsey, original Rush drummer, and Alex Lifeson, the Rush guitarist. It was general admission. We lined up for hours. We got in and we sat in the second row. And I swear, they didn't walk out on stage. They floated out. They literally brought the house down, because by the end of the night, there was a plaster falling from the ceiling. That's what Geddy said about his experience of seeing Led Zeppelin live. And the next band, the third band that he would like to have been a member of, was Jefferson Airplane, which had another incredible bassist that he loved, who was Jack Cassidy. Jack Cassidy was a member of Jefferson Airplane, the band with Gracie Slick, who was the vocalist. And he really liked this era of the band. Jefferson Airplane was active from 1965 until 1973, reuniting in 1989 and 1996. Cassidy was part of all the band's studio albums that Jefferson Airplane released. But after the band came to an end in 73, he made more albums with Hot Tuna, the band he formed with other member of Jefferson Airplane after the band came to an end. But he also recorded with the spin-off band Jefferson Starship in the 90s, a band that was formed by other Jefferson Airplane members such as Grace Slick. And in an interview with Music Radar in 2022, he really praised Jack Cassidy, and this is what he said. I always found Jack Cassidy from Jefferson Airplane to be very underrated. He played odd bassist, like this guild that was really modified. He was really into that mod stuff. Listen to his playing from the early days or the live album Bless Its Pointed Little Head. You hear something really twangy and aggressive for what essentially was a trippy Californian band. He had this heavy tone that pushed the band along. Jefferson Airplane went through a million configurations in their history, but Jack made those early versions of this band stand out for me. I really gravitated towards his sound on the song called The Other Side of This Life. There's a live version of it that we used to cover way back in Rush when we were starting out. During the intro, he plays this angry circular pattern. If you listen to that, you hear how there's a nod to Jeff in my sound. So this is what Geddy said about Jack Cassidy and Jefferson Airplane. And the final band, I think it's quite expected to be on this list, is Yes, a band that he kind of was part of when the band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years ago, and by then Chris Squire, who was the band's legendary bassist, had already passed away. I think he passed away 2 years before Yes was finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, the ones who inducted the British progressive rock band, and they invited Geddy Lee to play the bass, to fill in for Chris Squire back then. And he played a few songs with Yes. And it's interesting because in this interview with You Discover Music, he said this: Chris Squire and Yes, did I think I could play with them? Fuck no. And he laughed, but I would have loved to have given it a shot. And this is what he said to You Discover Music. And also in the same interview, he said that when you judge a bass player, you can say, oh, this bass player is the best of all time. In Geddy's opinion, You can say a bass player is the better one in hard rock, is the best bassist in progressive rock, classic rock, anyway, heavy metal. And when it comes to progressive rock, Geddy thinks that Chris Squire was the best of all time. He was the best progressive rock bassist of all time. And this is it. I hope you like the list. If you want to read more and read all these interviews, we mentioned it, you can go to the description and visit the article we wrote about it. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment, and visit rockandrollgarage.com. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.